HustlesAfrica.com, a guide to high-paying online jobs. At HustlesAfrica.com, you will discover the jobs people are doing from home, the platforms where opportunities are found, the skills that open doors, and the practical steps to begin earning. Go to HustlesAfrica.com today. What a video! All right, hello there, people of the internet. My name is Uhuru Kenyatta, and this is Political Headache. Today in the evening, I'm having a guest here to help me. I hope you're seeing the thumbnail. Now, we want to talk about something. Welcome tonight. We are asking a very, very hard question. Mr. Mundalo,
yes.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing?
Not bad.
Gachagua did not do really, really well at the, we had
the interview.
Your boss, which is Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto, Mr. William Ruto went to Nyanza, splashed money, and then came back and some agitators. But I want to talk to people of the internet first.
Yes.
All right. We are asking a very hard question about power, memory, betrayal, and political survival in Kenya's most fought region, and that is Mount Kenya. Because what we are watching is a gathering storm, I think. Odhiambo might disagree and dismiss Gachagua and the rest of them. The storm is between Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta, with a factor of Kithure Kindiki sandwiched between them. So I think that this issue is about an old boss and an old ally who fell out. You might disagree, right? But I believe it is about insults that were exchanged in 2022 or before that, or apologies that have started appearing in 2026. Right? Tonight we look at who truly speaks for the mountain, who carries its pain, who carries its anger, and who intends to convert that emotion into power in 2027. Uhuru comes from dynasty. A lot of people have said that. I think now Ruto is also coming from dynasty. It comes from state power, from inheritance, from an old political order that shaped Kenya for decades. Okay? Gachagua, on the other hand, comes from the provincial administration tradition. I don't know if you agree, from grassroots mobilization, from hardline political messaging, and from a style that thrives in conflict. We saw it yesterday when he was conflicting with Trevor Umbija and the other gentleman, VOJ Odhiambo. What is his name?
Victor Otieno Juma.
Victor Otieno Juma, VOJ. At one point, these two men worked together closely. Gachagua served Uhuru, and I think you're going to be telling us that. He helped organize for him. He defended him. But over time, their relationship collapsed, and by 2022 election, Gachagua had become one of Uhuru's sharpest political enemies. The history turned again. Gachagua rose to deputy presidency, fell through impeachment in October 2024, and now finds himself back in a region where the struggle is no longer only about Uhuru. So we also be talking about Kindiki, Kithure Kindiki, the current deputy president, who is now actively competing for influence across Mount Kenya. All right. So tonight we want to slow this story down. Who is Rigathi Gachagua politically? Who is Uhuru Kenyatta beyond the presidency? And how did the two men work together? Why did they fall apart? Okay. Advice Mundalo is here, communication and leadership consultant, political analyst and media commentator with a background in political science, government communication, media studies. He would not say he's a government apologist or a propagandist like Odhiambo. Tonight, he will take us through the political history of Uhuru Kenyatta and help us examine Uhuru's place in the current Mount Kenya context. All right, Odhiambo Tieno, political propagandist, communication strategist, researcher, public speaking coach, political analyst, and co-host here at Political Headache. Okay, people of the internet, thank you very much. I don't know if you have a video to play. Let's play some video that had gotten lost. Yes.
Wewe Soprano, hata kama unataka kutisha Wameru, Wameri hawezi tishwa ni mtu ya sauti yako. Ni fire si fire. Ni noma si noma. Ni fire si fire. Hiyo ni sauti ya kutisha Wameru. Hiyo ni sauti ya kutisha Wameru.
Wewe Rigathi Gachagua, nimekuambia uniheshimu. Wewe Rigathi Gachagua, nimekuambia uniheshimu. Bado haujasikia. Lazima uniheshimu. Wewe siku ile ulikuwa kwa kiti, mimi sikukuzumbua. Mimi nilikuwa waziri wa usalama, nilikuwa napigana na magaidi. Ukiwa deputy rais, badala ya kusaidia rais alete hospitali, alete soko, alete barabara, ulienda kupigana na rais, ndio ukafukuzwa, ukatoka kwa kiti. Wachana na mimi. Sasa mimi ndio nimekalia. Wachana na mimi. Nitengeneze Meru, nitengeneze Mount Kenya, nitengeneze Kenya. Niseme nisiseme. Niseme nisiseme. Niseme niliseme. Unakuja kuringia nani hapa? Wewe umekuwa tu dio, alafu ukakuwa mbunge one term. Unakuja kuringia nani? Mimi nimekuwa senator miaka 10. Mimi nimekuwa leader of majority miaka 5 wa Senate. Nimekuwa deputy speaker wa Senate. Mimi nimekuwa waziri wa usalama wa taifa. Wewe umekuwa one term MP. Unakuja kuniringia hapa. Wewe ni nani wewe? Wewe ni nani? Wewe ni nani? Mimi nitapita na wewe my friend. Nitapita na wewe. Mimi sio rika yako. Mimi sio rika yako. Aende asiende. Aende asiende. Aende asiende.
Si mimi
saying, and it's very interesting. They are saying a Mount Kenya king does not pronounce himself twice on a matter. Our son, President Uhuru Kenyatta, had pronounced himself on this matter. So that pronouncement carries the day. As we stand today, me and the Mountino, Uhuru Kenyatta is the undisputed king of the mountain.
And what is your relationship with him?
Good. Brotherly. The one who made the first move of reaching out and apologizing, because really we were unfair to Uhuru Kenyatta. You know, we were very, very unfair. Sometime I really feel very bad that I was so brutal on a man who was my great friend, my confidant, my brother, my kinsman. I was so brutal on him. And his crime was only one, saying Raila is a good man. And then the man I said, we don't want Raila Odinga, we want William Ruto. Then he comes and says the same thing. I felt very stupid, In fact, another day, a very senior person abused me at the airport and called me stupid 5 times. And I looked at it, I was very bitter, but I looked at it later at night, and I thought,
the people of the region have resolved that we shall unite under one umbrella movement to safeguard our interests and to speak as one mountain with one voice.
Location of national resources.
Secretary General nego kuira. Kule nie, maundu macio ma hindi ciothe guthoma mutandao andu ne dioe na aroiga arugamirire Jubilee araru Gachagua na kuu araru more ongi ni ndikwenda maundu macio ma gikodi na tuiguithanie ithuĩ tũtirĩ kĩama kĩairu ria mena uhuru wa kũrũgama na kĩama kĩrĩa mekwenda na mathure mũtongoria ũrĩa mekwe.
Right, great. People of the internet, you've seen what is going on there. I have brought the men with the expertise, Mr. Mundalo. I have brought the government propagandist. By the way, Mundalo, how are you doing? How are you
Fine.
really doing?
I'm okay. Doing what exactly?
Yeah, I mean, how are you? How are you? Really,
I'm
you know. I don't know. People are saying that you are sitting on the fence. Are you a government supporter? Are you sitting on the thorns on the fence? Where are you? Or you're a factual man, a man that says what it is, what is happening. If it is the Rironi's Mao Summit, it's being built.
Yeah.
Right? If it is the money being stolen, it is being stolen. But tell me how you are doing. I want to know.
I'm doing very fine.
Yeah, because we are talking about political temperature. We are having the NDC tomorrow.
Yeah.
We had Wanga going around the stations today. I don't know, he told Sifuna that, you are the SG of the court. You're not ODM SG.
Yes.
Then we had Gachagua talking yesterday at Ramogi TV. Yeah. I want you to give me that political temperature as we start, even as we welcome people.
Yeah, thank you, Jagero. I think the political temperature is rising with every passing day, especially as we move towards being almost exactly 1 year to the next election, because we are a few months and then we'll be saying we are exactly 1 year to the next general election. And that's why you can see the tide is continuing to shift. The realignment is going to get even thicker. There is a lot of movement now. People are going to move from just the political euphoria now to political direction. And that's why you're seeing ODM now has an NDC, because the NDC is about getting the party into a direction. Yeah, when you look at what Gachagua is doing, it's also the building of alliances, because you go to an election on the basis of a direction. You can be able to see government as well trying to now solidify the relationship with ODM and others, and also galvanizing their support bases. So it's purely everyone trying very hard to get a political direction. And now it starts becoming very problematic to people who have been riding more on political euphoria, because euphoria mostly does not need direction, because there is nowhere specifically you are heading, but then you don't need to be headed anywhere because there is no end in sight. And so as we move now towards 2027, the political reality dawns, Jagero, that number one, when you are running for office, you need a political party. Yeah, when you are running for office, you need an infrastructure. When you're running for office, you need people. So before you do anything else, now you have to tell the people, okay, away from the razzmatazz and the drama, so which one is your direction? And that's why the political temperature is continuing to get higher and higher. I like the daring spirit of Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. I like him that he dares to speak to everybody. I like him that he dares to speak to even quarters that are not considered very friendly. Do you think that he managed to speak properly and fluently and articulately to the Luo nation? Because a lot of people are saying that the journalist was not very, very professional, that there were two Luo journalists that came and very bitter and did not actually want to allow him to speak. You know, Jagero, a journalist is biased when the journalist helps the person being interviewed make a fool of themselves.
Okay.
But when the person being interviewed makes a fool of themselves without the help of the journalist, but courtesy of the questions of the journalist, then the journalist is not biased. Yeah. It is just the person who has been put in a position where he does not have answers to the right questions. Now, that does not become bias.
He talked about the tone of Okwara before yesterday's interview, and then he he tied that to Trevor, and he said that Trevor is very bitter and is coming with a lot of preconceived ideas around him.
I watched the interview, and one thing I was able to see that in reality Trevor was a bit animated. Yeah. I think part of him was a Kenyan, not a journalist. Okay. And as a Kenyan, I feel like Trevor was also just a bit, the way you are interviewing someone.
Are you carefully using the word Kenyan and not a Luo?
No, I don't want to say Luo. I want to say Kenyan. Before you also say I'm also one of those things you call Rigathi Gachagua. Okay. So Trevor as a Kenyan, we have lies that you are told and you get offended. Okay. And part of Trevor was getting very offended with open lies. Okay. And so the journalism in him was sometimes disappearing, and the Kenyan in him just wakes up and he would want to ask this gentleman, what is that you are just telling us? Yeah. Because we have questions that Trevor really needs answers to, and we have questions that he also gets animated as a Luo.
Okay.
Because when he talks about...
I like that you've decided to...
Yeah, because when he talks about the characterization that Rigathi Gachagua has described the Luo community, as a Luo himself, I think it is something that aches him a lot, and rightfully so, because when he talks about... You have characterized the community as people who just throw stones, as people who can amount to nothing.
Yeah.
I think as a person, even as he asks that question, he is actually a bit animated. When he asks the question like, you said development does not need to go to Luo Nyanza, that the Luo people do not have a share of this government. I think when he asks that question, the question is legit, it's correct, but there is a facial expression in him that also speaks about his personal feeling about what all this is about. But in terms of the nature of question, I don't think he was he was biased. I think he was giving sufficient time for Rigiji to answer. I think the only reason why Rigiji sometimes kept feeling like there is bias is because he was not able to achieve the objective under which he sought the interview. Remember, this interview was not sought by the media.
Yeah.
It was sought by him, and at one point of the interview, that came out very heavily when he wanted to accuse them, and they told him, "No, you invited us here."
I want Odhiambo to say hi only, and then come back to you. Odhiambo, just say hi and hi. Very good. I want to come back to you because I want to pick your opinion on the NDC that is coming up tomorrow.
Yes.
So the Sifuna is organizing a parallel one.
Yeah.
And Wanga speaking today, I think at Spice FM said that let him do whatever he wants. He's the SG of the courts. Do you think that it is proper for Sifuna and the court to organize a parallel NDC at the Mamlaka?
I think it is wrong to say Sifuna is organizing an NDC. Because that is feeding into the propaganda that sometimes keeps spewing around.
Okay.
The NDC that will happen tomorrow will be the ODM NDC.
Okay.
The ODM NDC is the NDC that has been sanctioned by officials of the party.
Okay.
But what Sifuna will be doing is a populist stunt to retain political relevance. Because at the end of the day, you, as a politician, sometimes you need a few stunts to just keep your relevance. It does not delegitimize the right things from just being right. It is exactly like when we had the swearing in of the people's president. It did not stop President Uhuru Kenyatta from continuing to be president. But it was a stunt at that time to keep political relevance.
Okay.
So the truth is, an NDC has a formula under which it is called. When you're having an NDC as a political party, you give a notice. The notice is 21 days. Sifuna did not have any notice of 21 days. When you're having an NDC, you need a PG. Sifuna has no members of the PG. ODM has 110 members of parliament. Sifuna barely can get to 5. When you're doing an NDC, you need a decision made by the NEC. That's the National Executive Committee of the party. You can't call an NDC on the basis of just your imaginations, Jagero. So Sifuna, as Secretary General, yes, he has a mandate and he can actually call the NDC. But as a lawyer, he knows very well that the NDC is not just called by the SG by his own imaginations. He calls the NDC by decision of the NEC. Now, Sifuna has no members of the NEC to meet and call any NDC. So the truth is that if you want to be politically excited, you would want to call Sifuna's meeting an NDC. But truth is that the NDC that will happen for ODM is that one that is sanctioned by the party. But this other one, which they are calling the People's or something like that, it is a populist stunt to keep political relevance, just to try and ensure, because you know that you have some people who are following you, they want to believe in you, and for that reason you want to have something for them. You want to have some fodder for them that is political. Remember, even the courts today have thrown out Sifuna's application. I don't know whether you've been able to see that. The political party's disputes tribunal has just been able to throw out Sifuna's application and taken him back to the IDRM. That is the internal dispute resolution mechanism of the party. So that simply means that one, Sifuna stands suspended.
Okay.
And two, Sifuna is not substantive as SG. So the truth is, there will be an NDC, but the NDC will be of the party, not the other.
Thank you very much. I want to get to Odhiambo because I want to measure the political temperature with him. His friend has been gallivanting across media stations, talking a lot about issues of the party and issues of the country. I want us to play a little bit of that. Nyasona Wanga has been doing a very good job, according to Odhiambo, putting her feet down.
She's tried.
Do we have that video? Go ahead.
Moved him as Secretary General, and he went to court. So he's a court Secretary General at the moment.
He's a court-agreed court.
Political party is formed to capture power. In that case, we are not looking for anybody's position. When we come to 2027, all positions are vacant, including mine as governor. We all go to seek re-election. So there'll be nobody's position that we're seeking. We will just be looking for what would be our fair share as an equal partner with UDA on the table.
All right, that is great. Odhiambo, I called somebody today. Somebody called me from Migori today. Akaniambia, Jagero, before you go for that 7:30 p.m. of yours, I want you to understand one thing. Just because Raila Odinga went to Uhuru Park and saw himself in, does not mean that Sifuna has to copy that, go to a university hostel and swear himself in as an SG. And I asked him, someone was asking, what is this university hostel? Where is he swearing himself in? I mean, no, where is it tomorrow?
Who, Sifuna?
Yeah.
He's at Fungamano House.
Is that a university hostel?
No, it's it's one of the consequential halls of this nation in terms of the political history.
Yeah, but why is he referring to it as a hostel?
Well, because it sits next to the hostels of University of Nairobi. Yeah. Well, it's quite a fairly small space.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me say this quickly.
Okay.
Sifuna. I really love this guy.
Yeah.
But Sifuna is disappointing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
He's like a stubborn girlfriend who you don't want and is sticking around. He's like a stubborn boyfriend who the lady has said no to, but is sticking around, kneeling down, begging for mercy. Simping. Once they've said no, go.
Are you saying Sifuna is simping too?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Because you're a man who is handsome.
Yeah.
You're a man who is tall.
Okay.
You're a man who is able.
Okay.
You're a man who is eloquent. Ladies are outside there saying, come, I give you. But
that is not the language of political education. You're the language you're regarding Gachagua.
This is what Trevor was warning about.
Okay, go ahead with the
anyway.
Okay.
So the girls are telling you, come, I give you. And you are saying no. I still love this one. One thing you must understand in the story of love, the one you want does not want you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sifuna is disappointing in short. It's very disappointing because I've said here severally that I'm one of those people who think Sifuna has a good opportunity of leading this nation. Yeah. Sorry, I'm tearing a little. I get some serviette somewhere.
Give him serviette tafadhali. No, unajua hiyo kitu ikiingia kwa macho yako itaanza kusting.
Yeah,
it will sting. Maybe.
Okay, so as I say that now, Sifuna, I told him from day one, by the way, Nanim. There's a day I even dragged Jagiro to Kitengela just to show a little support, the maximum we can. Even as much as I'm a government apologist, I'm one of those people who thinks Sifuna can make a good leader. But he's stubborn on this dead cow that is headed to the grave, and he's going with the dead cow to the grave. Like for example, now what is he doing tomorrow? That is what we call Nyego in Kijaluo. Right now you call it in Luya. Nyego.
Nyego is envy or jealousy.
I don't know how it does not translate directly to envy or jealousy. Yeah. But it is that feeling of envy with anger in it. Actually, let me call it jilted lover syndrome.
Jilted lover syndrome.
Yes. Where umeachwa lakini hutaki kuachika. You get it? Yeah. Hataki kuachika kwa ndoa. So he's wasting a lot of time tomorrow. What he's doing is basically drama, and that is evident of some, such girlfriends, or boyfriends who don't want to go. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mind the wires. Mind the wires, madam.
Yeah, I think that's what I would say, Jagiro.
Yeah, that's what you'd say. Okay, fair enough. You watched a bit of Trevor.
Yes.
Your fellow. He's actually very close to your home. I think it's about 10 minutes drive to your place. 10, 20.
Trevor is my cousin.
Trevor is your cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he do well yesterday?
No.
Oh, okay. What happened?
Even if you want something, don't wag your tail too hard. You're trying to please the lords of ODM. No. Whatever Trevor did yesterday was not journalistic at all. I have my reservations against Rigathi Gachagua.
And you said them here yesterday.
And I said them here yesterday. But once Rigathi Gachagua sits in front of you as a journalist, you must uphold journalistic standards. Trying to humiliate him, I don't think if it gives you any credence. Yeah, there are things that people say, and of course people are always regretting things that they say, especially somebody at the level of Rigathi Gachagua. I believe he must be regretting some things he said, because it's only a fool who does not learn. What Trevor did yesterday for me was not only offensive in terms of ethics of journalism. I think he abused the bit of neutrality. I think he was also doing somebody else's bidding because he was constantly on his phone. Why are you on your phone and you have a talkback system in your ear?
Somebody told me that it must have failed. Because then it fails, then you revert back to reading text messages from your boss, from your producer.
From your boss, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was really bad. It shows arrogance. They're talking to somebody at the stature of Rigathi Gachagua, but are constantly on your phone. There's that level of contempt that I read in him when he was interviewing Rigathi Gachagua. And that means he came in predetermined of the result he wanted to get from Rigathi Gachagua, which was to humiliate him. It is not fair. Politics changes every day. Tomorrow, that same Rigathi Gachagua could be the saving grace of the community that maybe he's trying to please its masters today. It was not journalistic at all, and I have no apologies for it.
Do you think that Rigathi Gachagua is constantly shooting himself in the foot?
Because no.
But do you think that having seen His Excellency the President going round Nyanza, was it a good time for him to bring in a journalist and talk about Luo issues?
Joseph Goebbels, the Minister of Propaganda in the Third Reich of the German rule under Adolf Hitler, did develop the principles of propaganda. And one of them, he says, timing is everything in propaganda. And timing means that propaganda, however proper it is designed, if the timing is off, it will not land. It will not be politically consequential. If Rigathi came to talk to the Luo community 3 weeks after the president was there, that is why you will see whenever an opponent goes somewhere, the rival will follow quickly. Why is that so? To undo the gains that it's a competition. It's democracy. It's not enmity, and that's perhaps what people need to understand. So, Rigathi Gachagua is not shooting himself in the foot. Rigathi Gachagua is fighting. Asymmetrical. I like using that term. He knows that he cannot win any election in terms of facing Ruto. He knows his chances are slim.
He's an Iran.
So what does he decide to do? He becomes a nuisance. So it becomes an irritant, a nuisance.
Yeah, shoot this refinery.
Yeah, shoot this refinery.
This embassy.
Close the Strait of Hormuz. You just block things, Okay. And that strategy is not meant to win any votes. That strategy is just meant for the purpose that it is doing, which is irritating the regime. And as it irritates the regime, it creates a little bit of confusion in the sway areas. Remember, in political competition, whatever people are targeting is not the stronghold, it's the sway areas. And that is Luya, that is Coast, that is Nairobi, partly, actually majorly the urban centers, and some communities, okay?
But I think, because I have seen Ruto in the same situation, more or less. And Ruto is a master at it, I think.
Yes.
Would you say that Gachagua does not know how to deal with journalists? Does he really know how to deal with journalists?
No, Gachagua is still... Gachagua needs to come to my class of politics. No, for real. Yeah. For one reason. I see Gachagua facing life with his real face. He does not know how to build a facade. Yeah, he shows up on the interviews, and that is him. the person you're seeing is Gachagua. You cannot do that, bro. You must build a facade that you show up with on interviews. I think it was Shakespeare who talked about personas. You must have different personas that you hire for different jobs. Yeah. If you're going to speak to the people, you must hire that persona for that situation. Like, for example, you're talking about President Ruto. I remember when they were coming, when he was a deputy president and Uhuru was the president, they were coming to launch UHC in Kisumu as a pilot. Then they were at Ahero, the interchange. And constantly, Ruto was talking about Baba as being his mentor. He was talking about Baba as the father of the nation when he went there.
Okay.
All through in Kisumu, he did not try to offend the Lord of the Luos. But Gachagua does not know this. That now the Lord of the Lugos today is Ruto.
Hey.
Yes.
Mundalo, what is this guy?
No, just give me a minute so I explain for you. Right? I believe Mundalo will agree with me.
Okay.
Because, Jagero, sorry to use your example.
Which one?
So, Jagero, your dad has passed on.
Okay.
At the time your dad is passing on, there's an uncle who is around. This uncle looks like Mundalo. He has a nice suit, you know. He drives a Mercedes.
Nice specs.
Yes, nice specs.
I'm joking. I'm joking. No, let's say he has money.
He has money.
Let's say he has money.
Yes, so you have an uncle like him.
Yes.
Then this uncle, you know, in the moment of mourning,
okay,
he's not just going to walk away. He's going to try and hold you guys together, especially if it is going to work for him.
Okay.
Because, for example, your dad could be the elder brother, or your mom could be the younger sister. And so he looks at this family as his own.
Okay.
And so that's how this uncle becomes the lord of that house immediately. And that is Ruto now for Luos.
Yeah.
He's the one who is giving them a political insurance policy that will take them to 2027. Beyond 2027 is another discussion because Machiavelli dictates clearly that kingmakers must be destroyed upon the king assuming power. So all these people you see, my friend Wanga, nani, wao chuma chao kimotoni. Nani anamaliza tu hivi anashika Biblia anaweka chini tap, done. Because kingmakers often want to be like the king.
Okay.
And so that makes a little bit of difficult for the king to rule.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the reason why we're here, and that is Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta and Kindiki in between there. Yeah. I want to go back to Mundalo and then quickly go back to you, Odhiambo, because you're the one who's going to be telling us the history of Gachagua, correct?
Right.
But I want Mundalo to tell me, every time Gachagua is talked about, what comes to your mind? Because a lot of people say a lot of things.
Yeah.
But how do you profile him? Knowing that you are very close to Uhuru Kenyatta, knowing that you are very close to Jubilee. I don't know where Gachagua was, and I think he was a friend of Uhuru Kenyatta at some point.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah.
What comes to you when you think about, Rigathi Gachagua, and where is he in 2027 really?
I think the first thing that always comes to me when the mention of Rigathi is made, or when I even see Rigathi on the screen, the first thing is I see the first politician who ever embraced himself using the faults that were given unto him. Because Rigathi Gachagua is one person who got impeached on the basis of ethnicity, on the basis of tribalism, on the basis of the politics of shares. And he's the first politician not to run away from a bad name. So Rigathi embraced the bad name, and he continued advancing whatever it is that he was impeached over. And for that reason, and he has done it extremely well. So that is the kind of person I see. The other type of person I see, Jagero, is that part of me sees quite a political schemer in Rigathi Gachagua, who understands a bit of political maneuvering. It is either he understands a bit of political maneuvering, he's a schemer, or he's lucky. Because Rigathi is the one only politician, Jagero, who became a member of parliament, served one term, and became deputy president.
Yeah.
Now, that has not been able to happen in the country before. Most of the senior positions of government and in politics are reserved for the big boys, the people who have the experience, the people who have been there for 30 years, the people who have been there for quite a while are the ones who then are sent to such kind of positions. Rigathi was able to just serve as a member of parliament for one term, and then through whichever miracle, it's either, that's what I'm saying, it's either through political maneuvering or through luck, he ended up being deputy president. Of course, I also think it's courtesy of that inexperience that made him very quick to actually get out of that position and even be impeached. So that is the type of person I see Rigathi Gachagua as. I always want to understand his history because he was in public, in administration. And as a person who was in administration, especially during the Moi days, those were very strict people. The administrators at the time were very strict people, and they were quite powerful, and they understood the law of bureaucracy when governments were purely very bureaucratic. And that's why part of me fails to understand how did he could not be able to play by the book when he became deputy president. Actually, I always thought that he would be a very good deputy president by the fact that he had come from a public administration, because public administration about bureaucracy, it's about who is the boss of who. If you are a chief and then there's a DO and then there's a DC, the pegging order is just like that, and you don't go above it. So I thought, part of me imagined that when Rigathi becomes deputy president, he would be as effective as that. But then he ran off the tide of off the rail of public administration so fast. So part of me wonders, was he then really a very proper public administrator? But again, quickly I learned that at some point he got fired, even as a public administrator. So I think Rigathi is quite consistent in his persona. He's quite consistent in how he handles things. He's quite raw. Rigathi is the one politician who what you see is what you get. There is nothing behind the tent. There is nothing behind. There is no different face, like Odhiambo says. Like there is no face. He has no PR that you put in. There is no face you put in for the interview, for the camera. No, for Rigathi, the Rigathi you'll meet on the farm, and the Rigathi you'll meet on air is the same person.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of person I see.
Great. Let's get deeper, Odhiambo. Who is Rigathi Gachagua? Can you give us a little bit of his history? Trace for us his rise, political style, usefulness in power, and so on and so forth.
Rigathi Gachagua is one of the most consequential people. But his story begins in Mount Kenya, of course, where he was born. Rigathi Gachagua is not just any commoner. Rigathi Gachagua is actually the son of Mau Mau. When he says it, very many people dismiss him. But it's actually true that his father worked for the Mau Mau, or worked as a Mau Mau. He was fighting from the forest, and the mother used to serve food and ammunition carrier. She was an ammunition carrier. If you look at the infantry, that is the people who, the army on the ground, they normally have these people who carry some boxes. Those boxes are always ammunition, basically, the bullets, the grenades, the guns, etc. So the mother used to give the food, and I think she was called Re something. The mother was also having an interesting name. And Rigathi Gachagua then found himself in that very context, went to school, of course, in a school, I think, I don't know, I'm forgetting the name, starts with a K. He went to school right inside Nyeri, then got to University of Nairobi, studied political science and administration.
I was pleasantly surprised because he was talking about several professors yesterday at his Trevor Bija.
Yeah, he's a very schooled person.
Yeah,
who unfortunately home refused to leave him. Yeah, do you get my point?
Yeah, I don't like it though.
Yeah, he's a very schooled person who home refused to leave.
You're trying to say that people who are in the village are like that. No.
But you are here in Nairobi and you always talk about Nyakach all the time.
Yeah, but don't say that there's kind of non-civilization in Nyakach. And so if I'm getting from there, then people that are listening, why are you talking about home and Gachagua?
I'm just saying, he likes home. In fact, if you go to his compound, it's written, I love Wamunyoro.
Oh, that's what you mean?
Yeah. He loves home very much.
What a joke. Please. Go ahead. we all get your point.
Anyway.
People of the internet, please, we want you to ask your questions. Mundalo is here. Odhiambo is here. We will be welcome you in a Mundalo. It's long since you were here when we are live. Yeah. There are lots of live people here, and I think even the girls are already talking about your court.
They really like it. They really like it.
I like them, man.
So right, Odhiambo, go ahead.
Yeah, so Rigathi Gachagua then comes from that. So he went to this school called University of Nairobi, and then later on, in University of Nairobi, he did quite a number of things, which of course, some of them Miguna has brought to the fore. They are stories, they're not factual, but Miguna at least has tried to elucidate what happened when they were in school. He started becoming a government operative back when he was still in university. He's not a very new person into politics, because during student politics, President Moi was very much having a strong hold of student politics, because he knew. In fact, there's one time, I don't know if you remember, it's been a story that has been talked about largely, that when students were striking in the cabinet of President Moi, somebody was talking about Karl Marx being the problem within the student body, Marxism, okay? And then somebody said, one of the cabinet ministers said, na huyo Karl Marx yashikwe, mbona anasumbua watu? Like this, so, the hallmark of daftness.
Yeah.
This is somebody who never saw or who never knew that Karl Marx was an author or an ideologist who published or who came up with the idea of Marxism. So yeah, Rigathi Gachagua was in that context one of the state operatives or informats who were working within the universities to keep an eye on the student politics, student body politics. And of course, Miguna, you can watch Miguna's interviews. He's talked about it severally, and Rigathi has never rebutted that. So then it forms a very strong opinion, and we pick it as something that is credible. Now, moving forward, Rigathi Gachagua then went into provincial administration, and I believe it was as a reward for the good work he did, looking at. So he was a systems person. In any case, if you want to identify systems people, they always begin at very young ages. Like most spies, most intelligence people, they actually wanted to be spies as children, and they just grow into it. And it's very easy to recruit them because they already have that preconception of what they want to do. And so was Rigathi Gachagua, who wanted to be an administrator because he loved order, and he was against student hostilities or student ideologies, and wanted, let's have some order, administration, yeah? And so the government took him up and employed him as a DO. He served in, I think, Vihiga, and so many other places, up to when then he left that service and joined President Uhuru Kenyatta, then having been appointed freshly under President Moi, as he was serving as a board member at Kenya Tourism Board. Shortly after he was then elected, I don't know whether he was elected or he got himself as an MP, representing Gatundu South or Gatundu North, I'm not certain which one of them. At that point, Rigathi Gachagua came in strong from about 2003 or thereabout to 2006, serving as the personal assistant to Uhuru Kenyatta. So Uhuru Kenyatta comes from what I call the dynasty, and not just a dynasty. It is a well-established dynasty. But Rigathi Gachagua comes from the rough background of Mau Mau. He's an actual street boy. He's not born on the table of what I call the regnants, okay? The kings and queens of Mount Kenya. They were the fighters, and basically came to serve Uhuru Kenyatta. And he served Uhuru Kenyatta as a PA for a long time. And in several occasions, he referred to Uhuru Kenyatta as a very good boss. He was very attentive, was very listening, etc. But the curse of being a PA is one. There's always that deep-seated envy, especially if you're almost age mates. Because remember, I think Uhuru Kenyatta is a little bit older than Gachagua. Yeah. Just by 3 years or so. But Gachagua looks older than Uhuru Kenyatta. That's a question for another day.
Yeah, but I don't know why you keep throwing those subtle jabs.
It's not a subtle jab. He wears oversized coats. It makes him look older. He ties his long trouser in the Kwatumbo hapa. These are just facts. Okay? And I mean, even you didn't know, you were pleasantly surprised. Really? I'm just confirming. Yeah. Just confirm what you're saying. So anyway.
Yeah, I've always thought that he's older than Uhuru.
No, Uhuru Kenyatta is actually older. Uhuru's name actually was a manifestation of complete freedom from the colonial rule. And so Rigathi served Uhuru very well for those number of years. In fact, when he left Uhuru, he went to now help in managing his brother's businesses. That is Nderitu Gachagua. Nderitu Gachagua was, I think, one time a PS in this country, serving the Department of Planning under Anyang' Nyong'o back then, and somebody called PS Nalo. They were together. And Rigathi Gachagua then went ahead to serve his brother and help him in his businesses. And his brother was an MP for Matira. And then later on he became the governor for Nyeri. And of course then Rigathi Gachagua tried his luck in politics, became Matira MP, and then found himself as a deputy president in a very contested nomination process that Ruto handpicked him to be the deputy president nominee for Kenya Kwanza. Then, as you always say, Simon Makonde doesn't have so many days to live. Do you remember the story of Simon Makonde?
No.
You don't know Simon Makonde?
I don't remember. Maybe the audience remembers.
Yeah,
but what is it?
He was born on Monday, but died on Sunday. Lived his whole life during the week. Okay, but it's a mythical, whatever in
So that is Gachagua.
So that's
it's
a Simon.
Third joke on Gachagua.
Yeah, so in politics, you cannot take the elevator to the top floor. You must take the staircase. And if you take the elevator to the top floor, we will use the English saying by the wise men of the English land, who say that hasty climbers have a sudden fall. And Rigathi had a hasty climb and was not properly mentored. Instead, he had what I would call an agitation and envy against Uhuru Kenyatta that was deep-seated. And that manifested in the run-up to 2022 elections. You don't, in politics, we know, Mundalo here knows, he can tell you, whether your boss, former boss, is limping, or he's blind, or he's basically defecating on himself or herself, Penyamika. Your boss is always your boss in politics because you'll call in for a favor. It's like mafia. As long as the boss is alive, you can never be the head of the mafia until when the boss dies. Do you get the point? That is why quickly, soon afterwards, when he got into the position and he disparaged the family of Kenyatta greatly on TV, and when he got to power, and actually he used what I call privileged information that he had as a PA to disparage the family of Uhuru Kenyatta and the family of the Kenyattas basically, by even revealing some very dark stuff like the death of J.M. Kariuki. Because of course, when you are the king's dog and you are eating under the table, you will always be hearing stories, or let's say you are a fly on the wall, you will always be hearing stories as they talk. Those that you hear there end with you there. Like I've always told you, I'm going to the grave with so much about this nation that I will never talk about. I can laugh with you, but I'll never tell you those ones. Now, so you realize quickly that after he came to be the deputy president, he didn't know. And I've always said, self-made people are very dangerous. Because a self-made man, when he comes to work for you, Jagero, you are simply staring into what? The horrors of unskilled labor. And that was Rigathi Gachagua. He didn't know how to sit around power. And most importantly, there's a capital rule around making money in power, is that where money is made, you don't ask a lot of questions. And he kept on asking a lot of questions. Remember, at the presidential level, you're not talking about 1 million. You're talking about billions. It was evidenced by within 2 years, it is rumored that he had acquired so much within 2 years. That tells you the level of money that plays at the presidential level is hundreds of billions of shillings in terms of tenders and cross tenders. Okay? But do you know how to sit around? When the president gives you an order to do, you don't question. Just do it. Just do it. Just salute. And if you want to leave, just leave peacefully. You will have a very peaceful life. You don't have to turn the tables and you know, if you kick the tables like this, the president is like a god. Things can happen to you as well.
He brought Mr. Mondalo before this gentleman. In fact, I'm cutting you short. Mondalo, he brought 4 million votes. This is a man that handed to President William Ruto power. No. He needed to have a voice.
It is something you say when you have a liking for him and you need to make yourself and him feel good.
Okay.
But the truth is that by the time President William Ruto was getting to the selection of Rigathi Gachagua, he had already done a campaign that was stretching about 9 years. And so, in truth, President Ruto had looked for his votes himself.
Okay.
He had traversed the mountain, he had traversed the western region, he had traversed all these parts of these countries, and the president had actually gotten his own vote. What he was actually doing is now to legitimize the vote. Because now legitimizing the vote is now where you need a figurehead of the region. Any figurehead would have actually worked. And that's why I dispute the imaginations that Rigathi has always given the people, that you know what, I was elected by the people of Kenya, and that is why I could not resign and such kind of things. He conveniently avoids to tell the people that I was also selected by President William Ruto. And it's through President William Ruto's selection that then I get elected by the people of the Republic of Kenya. The people don't get to elect Rigathi from nowhere. The people get to elect him after selection by President Ruto, which is actually a lone selection. Because remember, as per the stories and the narratives that we've been fed by people in Kenya Kwanza, President Ruto makes this decision alone against the wishes of the majority. So he actually deserves to give President Ruto credit where it's due, despite the fact that they are not together now. The truth is, he actually made him. But you see, because we are a country where we do convenient speech and convenient lying, when he was in office, he actually said it himself, that this country did not know me. If not for President William Ruto, I was only a person known to Madira. But now, quickly, fast forward, he says he actually is the one who made President Ruto and gave him 4 million votes. I don't agree with that school of thought. I really believe that giving credit where it's due, President William Ruto got his votes himself, the same way I believe that Raila Odinga got his votes himself in Mount Kenya, and not courtesy of Martha Karua, because the difference between the votes he got then and before was so slim. He had always gotten 1 million votes. So the truth is, those two people, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, looked for their votes themselves. So I disagree that Rigathi looked for any vote.
All right.
For anyone.
I want to come back to you because you're going to take us through who the man himself, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
Let's welcome a few people to the house. Mr. Omesa Tinega is saying, Mundalo and Odhiambo, my best analysts. Thank you very much. Okay. Newton is saying, it's not NDC, Jagero. This man is cheating us. It is SDC. Kwenda huko. SDC ni nini?
He's actually right. He's
right.
He's right. It's actually a special delegates convention. It is not an NDC. It's because the NDC is the word that is always quick on the mouth. Right. Many people, even the journalists, have called it NDC.
Okay.
But the gentleman, what is his name again?
His name is Newton.
Yeah, Newton is very right.
He's very right.
It's actually an SDC.
Okay. Yeah. Kevin Owaga is saying Trevor was a clone on that show. All right. Daniel is saying watching from Nabugogo, Rwanda. Thank you very much.
Nyabugogo,
Rwanda, yes. Yeah. Owino is saying Trevor was speaking the voice of his bosses. I wonder who his bosses were. Somebody else is saying tune in on the road, heading home traffic on Gong Road. Thank you very much for joining us. Nyakwar Fuaya is saying Siaya well represented. Dickens Bosiri is saying the interview was biased. I saw it personally. Mr. Ken is saying Trevor asked one question 10 different times and did not move the needle. Nothing achieved. Lewis hated Gachagua before and after the interview. All right. Our own Martha Okelo is in the house. She's actually given, what is it called? The Queen's Heart. And written there number 1. She's our number 1 supporter at Political Headaches. Sifuna himself said it is people's NDC. Mundalo, welcome back. Where have you been? Mr. Joseph Gamau is asking. Ochieng is saying whether SDC, NDC, that is up to you. It will happen as planned and ODM will work with UDA. Call it the way you want, but that is the fact of the matter.
He's also very right.
He's also very right.
Yeah.
Okay? Mr. Ochieng is saying Sifuna is irrelevant, must stop forcing himself. Okay? All right. Somebody is asking Mundalo, Mr. Ken, has Mundalo read the judgment? I don't know what judgment you're
judgment
for the judgment of the PPDT.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Political parties dispute tribunal.
All right. Yeah. Patrick is watching from Diani Coast. We will read some as we go on. Mr. Mundalo, I don't know whether we have any video about Uhuru Kenyatta. Do we have any video? Can you play us something before Mundalo takes it? Tafadhali. Just without the sound. Okay, let's go to Mundalo then. Mundalo, tell us about Uhuru Kenyatta. You are boss.
And declare your interest as was as is.
Don't move. As was is. President Uhuru Kenyatta is actually my boss, and he gave me an opportunity at the helm. Actually, that was the first presidential appointment I have gotten.
Okay.
When he gave me an opportunity to serve on the National Executive Committee of the Jubilee Party, an opportunity I'm grateful to up to this day, because it came with lots of learning and lots of experience, especially in the political space.
Right.
So who is President Uhuru Kenyatta? I describe him in 2 ways. Number 1, I think he's the most likable person you will ever come across. A person you can simply describe as a good man. Okay? And how does this happen? Look at when he was 2013 when Uhuru Kenyatta gets into office, and you have stories of those guys who are selling newspapers, remembering how they used to hang out with him and how he was an ardent buyer of newspapers there. You hear the stories of gentlemen in Ngara who kept saying they used to take 1 or 2 ujis with, with him. That shows you the type of person he is, because the truth is that he's a prince, but most of the people who actually gave stories about him were not necessarily people in his league. He was the kind of person who associated at the lowest level, at the middle level, and people by and large liked him. 2, politically, I say that President Uhuru Kenyatta is the true manifestation of mentorship. Because right from when he is very young, we see Uhuru Kenyatta's photos as a very small boy walking around with the then Jomo Kenyatta. So you can be able to trace the art of mentorship in him, that it started quite a while ago. And even when it comes to now him joining the political wire, you remember he runs for Gatundu North Member of Parliament and he loses the election. So Uhuru Kenyatta loses election in 1997. But after he loses this election, you can see again the huge hand of mentorship that happens. And then now, this hand of mentorship is by President Moi. So President Moi picks Uhuru Kenyatta from that time, makes him the chair of, the Kenya Tea Development Board, and then nominates him into parliament in 2001. The nomination that President Moi does to Uhuru Kenyatta is a very strategic nomination, because Mark Too is made to step down from parliament so that Uhuru Kenyatta comes in as a nominated member of parliament in preparation, because Moi is then preparing the next frontier of who Uhuru Kenyatta is supposed to be. And so he gets into parliament, and he does not just get into parliament as an ordinary member, Jagero. And these are the advantages you get when you are a prince, when you are born from the right places. He gets into parliament as a first-term MP, but also is made a minister. You can be able to see that the mentorship there is just to ensure that he is able to understand legislation and also have a good grasp at understanding the governance from an executive perspective. And that's why 1 year later, when now we move into the election, where for the first time after 24 years, Moi is not running, he surprises Raila Odinga. And many people who had surrounded him that time, and all of them were believing that Moi was able to would be able to endorse them. And Moi pulls this surprise when he says that siasa si urafiki. And that displeases, the first person I think who gets very displeased with that is Saitoti, because Saitoti, having been vice president, I'm sure all his imagination was that he is the next in line.
Was it his imagination, or he was promised something?
I don't know whether he was promised, because we don't have an account of that. But in reality of order, Jagero, is that when you are vice president and you've been a loyal vice president, it would almost go without saying that in your imagination you imagine you'll definitely be the next in line. After all, Moi comes in to become president, courtesy of being vice president. Then he rises to the next seat.
For sure.
But of course, you also have people like Raila Odinga, who are very serious political operatives, and they have a huge following in the country. And all these people are imagining that, and they are believing that, you know what, Moi will be able to endorse them. And so Moi pulls this surprise on very many people, and pulls a surprise on Kenyans when he says Uhuru Tosha. So he endorses then a very young Uhuru Kenyatta. You need to probably look at the photos.
This is in 2000.
This is now 2002.
I think the photos were there. Yeah,
this is 2002.
You can give us them again.
Yeah, this is 2002, and Uhuru Kenyatta was quite lean. He was not as huge as he is today. He was quite lean, and then he comes in, and one of the people that support is the current president, William Ruto. Because after President Moi declares that Uhuru is the candidate of KANU, there is a mass exit from KANU that was led by Raila Odinga. And then they go, and then they form the Rainbow Coalition and go like that together with the Nyachai and the sort of people. Of course, they go ahead to win that election. But then Uhuru is now poised here as the candidate of the government.
I want to take you a little back. The winning of this, because people had always said that Uhuru Kenyatta actually that Moi could actually make Uhuru Kenyatta president if he liked, by way of scheming and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But he allows Uhuru to lose the election. I have never understood why. Why did he allow Uhuru to lose the election?
I think two reasons, and this is purely now me trying to get into the mind of Moi, not because he said it anywhere. But I'm looking at Moi and feeling like, that's why I said Uhuru is a true product of mentorship.
Okay.
I'm looking at President Moi and imagining that he must have known that the gentleman is young.
Okay.
And all he needed to do was to position him for the country, was to put him in a place that makes him a national figure first, was to subject him to a test of national coherence. Remember, by the time Uhuru is running for president, he has not even won an MP seat. Actually, the first time he wins an MP seat is when he is also running for president. Because remember, our constitution then was different. At that time, he used to run for MP and also run for president. So I think that Moi is actually saying, this is my style of doing the mentorship of this young man. And I know that in the next 1 or 2 seasons, he will actually become president. And number two, I'm also thinking that at that time, after 24 years, the country really needed a breather. And I think Moi...
Was Moi tired?
And I think Moi, as a consumer of raw intelligence, must have known that the country was on the edge, and there was a real need for freshness and fresh breath at the time. And so the voting for Kibaki was so how would I call it? It was so landslide. So it would have been very difficult to even try to alter or play games with that kind of an election. You see, Jagero, you only are able to manipulate an election that is head-to-head, where the vote difference is very little. But in 2002, the vote difference was too huge. It is too huge for you to start doing any manipulation. Remember, this is the election where after the election, people gathered by themselves at Uhuru Park. They gathered by themselves to prepare for the swearing in of the new president. And they were singing there from as early as 6 a.m. And the country was palpitating with a lot of joy and excitement. You remember that time Kenya was ranked the happiest country in the world. They said the optimism standards of Kenyans were the highest in the world. At the time, policemen on the road were arresting people themselves. The people were arresting policemen who were asking for bribes. So the optimism standards of the country were so high. It would have been a very great disservice, and it would have been very dangerous to try any gimmick with that election. And I think that is the one bit of, despite his many flaws, that is the one bit of President Moi that I really respect. Because in the event anything happened to that election, the country would have gone completely bonkers, because it would have been the worst kind of violence that would have been meted to the people of Kenya, because everyone was on one side. So this is how Uhuru Kenyatta then is introduced to Kenya at a national level. And that is how Uhuru Kenyatta becomes the official leader of the opposition. Many people forget that Uhuru was once the official leader of the opposition.
How did he do? I don't remember. How did he do as the leader? Did he ever speak properly? Did he ever, did he fit into that role?
Not much is quite remembered about him as the official leader of the opposition. But one fundamental thing that maybe comes out way later is that during the constitutional crisis, the no and the yes.
That just is 2004, 2005.
Yes. He was actually on the side of opposition. He was together with Raila Odinga during that campaign of no. So I think at that level, he really played a role as the official leader of the opposition. But going forward, we don't see much of him. Part of history says that he gets into this arrangement. But remember, the president then is coming from Mount Kenya. And the official leader of the opposition is also coming from Mount Kenya. So heavy opposition with our type of politics that is very tribal, heavy opposition would look like the community opposing itself. And so I tend to think that because of that, Uhuru does not put on any heavy kind of opposition. If anything, he proceeds to then support the re-election of President Kibaki. So the opposition leader actually supported the re-election of the President Kibaki. So we don't see any heavy opposition. Even at the time, people still thought the official leader of opposition was still Raila Odinga. That's why many of us associate the role of opposition with Raila Odinga. Because whether he's in office legitimately or not, he has always been the de facto leader of the opposition. Even when the constitution was changed and we made the leader of the minority the official opposition leader, even up to Raila's death, he was still considered the official opposition leader of Kenya because the role, I think he had soaked himself so much into the role. So Uhuru Kenyatta then supports the re-election of President Kibaki, and then they win that.
They win that election.
They win the contested election. I don't know whether they win the election or Kibaki becomes president. I think it's safer to say Kibaki becomes president.
Yeah.
Because in that
do you believe that the 2007 elections were stolen?
Yeah, I do. I do, because even by their own confessions, you've been able to see people confess themselves and say that this is what we did. And I think NTV did an expose on that. I don't know whether you watched it. So the 2007 election, I always argue that it is the only election that we are sure Raila won. Every other election, we can be able to debate about it and say there were numbers and say this and say open the servers. But at least for 2007, Jagero, all of us know that Raila Odinga actually won that election. So beyond the 2007 election, which Kibaki becomes president. And I argue again, Jagero, that it is the only election where the Mount Kenya community goes it alone. Yeah, you know, there's always this imagination, Jagero, that when you do not have the Mount Kenya community, you cannot win the presidency of Kenya. I'm sure you have heard a lot of that narrative.
Yeah.
I believe it's a narrative because in 2007, the Mount Kenya community actually loses the election and it has gone alone. All the elections where the Mount Kenya community has won this election, it has had a coalition with others. So it goes without saying that putting people in a box to say that without the mountain you can't win is a fallacy. Because this happens in 2007 where there is actually the loss of that election, and Raila wins with him and the rest of Kenyans. I remember it was a conversion about 47 against 1 and such kind of thing. So then later, of course, Uhuru Kenyatta becomes Deputy Prime Minister, he becomes Minister of Finance. We stroll into before actually that, there is the post-election violence that happens. And now that becomes another time that Uhuru again comes to the fore of the country, because he's now named by among the Ocampo Six as one of the people who led to the post-election violence. Now, that it's him together with the deputy president, with the current president William Ruto. When this happens, again, it puts Uhuru at the center, the limelight. And so we start having those visits to the ICC. And conveniently, the two communities that fought the hardest, which is the Kikuyu community from Mount Kenya and the Rift Valley, there is now need, and even the elders of the two communities try to unite the country using their two leaders. And so a unity is forged then between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. And then the prayer rallies begin so that now there is new unity in the country between these two people. So these two leaders who are on opposing ends come together to lead these prayer rallies and all that, and they keep going to the ICC. And as fate would have it, they become the presidential ticket. And before Uhuru gets to be the presidential candidate in 2013, there's a lot of hullabaloo in the middle. At some point, it is Musalia.
Yeah.
Because some people thought that the ICC case would make it impossible for Uhuru Kenyatta to be a candidate. So there was part of that imagination. And so there is a bit that says, why can't we be able to prepare Musalia? There is a bit that says, why can't we be able to prepare Eugene Wamalwa? I remember, Jagero, at that time in the Western region, almost all people in Western believed that Eugene would actually become president. That time, Eugene became very, very popular in the Western region. I remember there were lorries that used to move around propagating Eugene's name, because the imagination was that Uhuru and Ruto are going to leave this to someone else because they cannot run. But for one thing or the other, they are cleared by the IEBC to run for office. And there's a lot of drama around
the clearing, I don't know, the clearing, do you think that it was a real clearing, or but Kibaki was the president, right?
Yeah.
And Kibaki was on their team.
Kibaki was actually financing Uhuru Kenyatta to be the president in 2013.
2013.
He
but he was a bit
financed him.
silent.
Yeah, he was silent, but he financed
He did
him.
not politically become
Declare.
active
Yeah.
and declare.
Yeah.
It was not like the case where Uhuru actively supported.
He actively supported. The only difference that he didn't do the declaration of the support, but he actively did support him.
He was supporting him because of what? Because of to protect him?
Not just to protect him. I mean, protect him from what again? What was he suffering from? ICC?
No, but there is always protection. I mean,
I think at that time
Kibaki was a naked man when he was going out.
I think by that time, Jagero, it's purely about
interests.
Our politics of one interest and two, our politics of regionalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was more of regionalism, I agree.
This is a Mount Kenya candidate,
Yeah.
and this is a Mount Kenya president. And remember, Jagero, I told you that by the time President Kibaki is coming in for his second term in 2007, the official leader of the opposition is Uhuru Kenyatta. And this official leader of the opposition supports the current president. And I tend to think that it's at that time that they made this deal to say, let him provide a conducive environment for President Kibaki to run.
Yeah.
And then when Kibaki is done, he can be able to come in later in 2013.
Yeah.
And now that is how...
And Kibaki lived to the deal.
Yeah, and that is how now Uhuru is given the ticket to now run the campaign. And of course, it's marred by a lot of stories of how can two people who are both suspects of the ICC be able to be running. How will the country run? Where will these people be?
They're running it by Skype.
We'll be running it by...
Yeah, there was so much propaganda and confusion around
a lot of that.
But you asked a question which I need to answer you.
Go ahead.
There was no consequence on approval. Nobody needed to clear these guys to run because they had the deep state then that was the holder of the keys of clearance. So, and there was nothing to clear them over because they were just suspects. They were not convicts. Well, in political terms, we call them indictees. They're just indicted. They were not yet convicted and condemned to prison or something like that.
But I thought the Kenyan Bible says that if you are indicted, then you cannot. If you are on the docks, then you cannot.
That is where now the presidency is set, Jagero. And that's why today you can be able to see that people would be having so many cases, but they would still be able to be approved to go and run. Because now precedence was set at that time that until the case is hard and determined, you cannot be able, your rights cannot be denied. You remain a Kenyan.
Is that the reason why Gachagua said on BBC that he can actually be president?
The difference now is that for Gachagua, his case, the impeachment ran. The impeachment went full course. He was fully impeached. So what is in court, he is in court right now, is to try and, what is it called?
To see the procedure, if the law was followed.
Exactly. But in terms of the procedure, in terms of did the impeachment happen, it actually happened. But precedence is about these other cases.
And there's that clear separation of powers, something that, let me break the hearts of a few people.
Okay.
The false hope that Rigathi Gachagua could be freed by the Supreme Court and come back to run is a far-fetched thought for this reason, that over about 10 years, the judiciary and parliament were squabbling over who has the last word on impeachment. The person who has the last word on impeachment is actually the parliament, and that is either of the houses. If you're impeached in the lower house and then approved in the upper house, that is for national government officials like the cabinet secretaries, the deputy president, and the president. For governors, it's just the Senate, okay? And that will be done. You find that there was that squabble between these two bodies. And finally, an agreement was set that impeachment is an absolute role and responsibility of the parliament. In fact, it's a political process. They only sit in a quasi-judicial kind of formation, but it is not an absolute judicial formation. That's why some of the charges that were brought forth against Rigathi Gachagua included and not limited to comments such as things such as insubordination of the president. That is not really a crime, but it is a political crime. Things such as mischaracterization of the office of the president or the office of the deputy president by going out and talking about shares and possibly causing national instability, that was brought up in the Senate and the National Assembly as well. If you go to court with those issues, they're not really anything. But if you go to the Senate or National Assembly, they are real issues politically, and the court is not going to sit and determine that was the question of Rigathi Gachagua addressing the press in Mombasa after President Ruto legal or not. No, they're not going to talk about that. They're going to talk about before they summoned Rigathi Gachagua, or before he was impeached, was he given a fair hearing? And actually, if you ask me, in my opinion, he was. And the reason is this. I'm not prosecuting it. The reason is I want to point it to one person. There's one person who's very consequential in this country, but you'll never see him. He's neither here nor there. It's called Alfred Mutua. Alfred Mutua ran the full course of impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua through his protege, who comes from, what is his name? That guy. He comes from Party Chap, the guy who brought the impeachment motion. Mutuse is an absolute protege of Alfred Mutua. And the reason is Alfred Mutua is very effective when it comes to delivering results. Remember, during the times of him as a government spokesperson, every Thursday, people look forward to this fellow. Yes, he would talk about some nonsensical government things, but people will still look forward to it. When it came to the rigging of the 2007 elections, it's now in an open secret that it was actually the person and his security who delivered that theft. And now, again, in impeaching Rigathi Gachagua, he's very effective again. He's not a man who is known for mistakes. He's a man who is known for efficiency. He's a very efficient character. So when they ran the full course, perhaps the only thing that I find they were hanging on, and I find that they're hanging on, is that Rigathi Gachagua was not given enough time to defend himself after the accusations were leveled once more in the Senate. When he took off to Karen Hospital and admitted himself in as a sick man.
Plus, Odhiambo, you'd want to look at the separation of powers that we have.
Yeah.
Our law is very explicit in terms of the separation of powers. And
correct.
Our bodies, our different arms of government rarely ever want to get into the job of the other arm of government.
Correct.
Take a case example of when the courts ruled that Azimio was the majority.
Correct.
The ruling that they gave did not necessarily make Azimio the majority. When they made the ruling had to be taken back to Parliament for the Speaker to declare, because the courts cannot declare.
Yeah.
The courts can only be able to guide that this is what should be. But then in terms of the declaration, the courts do not take a position to declare. And that's why, for me, imagining that Rigathi can run is wishful imagination. Why? Because even if the courts find that there was a problem in the process, they cannot lift the impeachment.
Yeah.
They will not lift the impeachment because that is not their role. So that is what becomes a bit...
why are they hearing it? I imagine...
Because
I imagine
yes.
that once we file a case,
yes.
then they make a decision to hear the case.
Yes.
But then why are they hearing the case?
Because
to what end are they hearing the case?
Because of posterity, Jagero. Posterity.
Just for drama.
No, Jagero. The thing is this. You always see that when judgments are being read, there is citations and quotes of, in the case of who versus whoever, this happened and whoever. So in the event of strengthening our systems and strengthening our laws, the courts listen to these so that in the event there was a problem in it here and there, they can be able to highlight it so that in future, when Odhiambo becomes deputy president and we need to impeach him, we do it better. Yeah. We don't do it the way we did it before. But then there's something off the cuff that I just wanted to chime in, especially on the element of what Odhiambo just talked about, Alfred Mutua. And I was just looking at it and saying, is Alfred Mutua also one of the guys that you can call a perfect mentor, depending on how you look at it? Because Alfred Mutua was governor. When he was governor, Mutuse was his chief of staff.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Now, Mutuse is now a member of parliament. Now, when Alfred Mutua was a government spokesperson, he had a security who was, I think, a corporal.
Nimrod,
or sergeant or something
Nimrod
like
Mbai.
that. Nimrod Mbai was his security guard. The gentleman is now a member of parliament. I'm just wondering, what does that tell you about Alfred Mutua?
It tells you that Alfred Mutua appreciates one thing, and that he has together with Ruto. It's a character they share, which is having a team and investing in that team and keeping a loyal team. I think they beat very many politicians on that.
I think the other person who has that kind of trait is Sabina Chege.
Yeah.
Because Honorable Sabina Chege, when she was the women rep of Murang'a County,
right,
the current women rep was actually her PA. And she is now the women rep of Murang'a County. And the person who was running her office in the constituency level, the lady, she's called Lydia, someone, I forget the other name. She's now the MCA of her ward. And the gentleman who was Sabina's bodyguard is now an MCA in Narok. I don't know. Do you have such examples in Luo Nyanza?
In ODM?
No, you don't. That's why I left another one recently.
Odhiambo is a very big advocate for this Luo thing that is going nowhere.
Which Luo thing?
Which Luo thing?
This ODMs, G-Ward, he's always stuck there with those people of theirs. I mean,
no, I'm not only stuck there. Let's be factual.
Maybe it's a political realist.
You know, something that I always say, most Luo politicians are very mean. They don't grow younger people. They don't grow anyone. Actually, today, point for me, any single Luo politician who has come from a mentorship of another apart from Raila Odinga.
Yeah, like...
None. Where did they learn them from?
Where did they learn them from?
Where did they learn that from?
Because where did they learn what from?
The Luo MPs and the Luo governors. Where are they learning from? From the best. We won't talk about the best.
The best is resting. May they rest.
And it is something that whenever I open my mouth to say, they will bazooka.
But Jagger, I beg to a bit differ.
Okay. Right, you are differing on what then?
On the best. The best. Because give him his flowers.
Okay.
Raila Odinga picks...
Oh my God! We were supposed to say the best.
Oh, we were supposed to say the best. Edit that out.
It was supposed to be the best.
Okay, the best.
End at the best.
Okay, let me give you examples of the best. The best of Luo Nyanza mentors Isaac Mwaura. And Isaac Mwaura comes into the politics from being a student leader. So Isaac Mwaura becomes one of the products. I look at people like Junet Mohammed. He was picked at 25 years old. And Junet is able to be made to, he becomes something in this republic.
Who was the first person that you said?
I said Isaac Mwaura. He was picked from the university.
And then you said who?
And then I went to Junet.
I think you don't know the history of Junet.
25 years.
I think you don't know the history of Junet.
So,
to be fair to you.
So can I stick to Isaac?
Yeah.
So, but at least there's an example. At least I've protected the best.
Yes. No, the best did so well because the best made so many people MPs, people who will never be MPs in their lives.
Yeah.
Most of them who are in this parliament, who come from Luo Nyanza, are going to go home. In fact, if not all of them.
The question was, what did they give to the best?
Well, they gave service to the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
And well,
you need a loyal troop in parliament, Jagero. Stop reading too much into it. You just need a loyal troop who will be there to ensure that there you don't need so much reasoning, okay? You need to kill your brain, okay?
The fundamental difference with Odhiambo Tieno is that Odhiambo Tieno does not speak as a citizen. He has never spoken as a citizen.
He speaks like a what?
And that is very traumatizing.
What does he speak
as? For him, he speaks as let's talk about the wolves and the sheep.
Yeah.
Odhiambo is always on the side of the wolves. He will never talk about the sheep. If it is raining sheep, that's your problem.
He's always with the wolves.
He's always with the wolves.
But the question is, he might be with the wolves and the sheep are comfortable.
But the most important question is, when Odhiambo was with the sheep, what changed his mind to moving and joining the wolves?
Good.
And I can tell you, it's not only happening with Odhiambo. Most African elites normally start from standing with the people. But they realize when you tell the people, this is how things should actually happen, the people tell you, shut up and sit down. And we shut up and sit down. Then they will say, oh, hey, don't be so cold. Come.
Then you join the whole.
They'll tell you no. Yeah. We have a lot of coats that look like the sheep, so you can even wear and go amongst them. So now we're called strategists because we understand the wolves and we understand the sheep.
The sheep.
Oh my God! Isn't that a tragedy, Mr. Mundalo?
It's not, is it?
No, the truth is that in the world, especially with our African politics, Jagero, African politics, the people sometimes are the hardest nut to crack because the people are the biggest defenders of the iniquities that oppress them.
Right.
And so sometimes it becomes very complicated. You have given me stories yourself, Jagero, of when they were beating you up in Kisumu.
They beat him up thoroughly.
Because of standing with the people. So sometimes that is the juxtapose that many people actually find themselves in, whereby you are trying to tell the people that this is the wrong direction to go. Look at our country today. Look at people who are very popular today in this country in the name of opposition leaders.
Okay.
You can be able to see that this person is actually leading you nowhere.
Right.
You can be able to see and tell the people that you see what? In fact, Parliament itself has called this person a tribalist. Parliament itself has been able to show you that you can't actually go anywhere with this person. But that person goes live on Facebook and 26,000 people are loyal following that gentleman. People want to listen to him. People want to protect him. And when you speak the way I'm speaking today here and telling you that, look at this gentleman is leading you astray, and Parliament itself has told you, do you know what they will call me? They will call me a Ruto apologist.
Yeah.
They will say I'm becoming a government apologist. They will run away from the issues that we are discussing, and then they will malign the messenger.
Yeah.
That is how the people behave.
And that's
when
why
the people behave like that, they leave people
cross.
like Odhiambo with no option.
Yep.
Than then to cross and work from the other side. Because sometimes the people themselves get too complicated. That's why some of us wonder. You people keep labeling us here together with Odhiambo. Because we sit and wonder. If a sitting president is doing what he is doing, why can't we all see? But those who see are called apologists.
And because seeing is a choice. Seeing is not common to everybody.
Okay, I don't know whether we have any... This team is... sleeping. This team...
Frank is too tired.
They gave me a list, and now I'm going with the list that they gave me.
And he's not giving.
But they're giving me a no. On the same list that they gave me. Okay, and now they're giving me a lot. I think they've lost the video. But anyway, let's go very fast and talk about... at the tail end of this interview, we're going to be talking about the point of departure.
Yeah.
Shungwaya.
Yeah. The point of
between who and who?
Between Rigathi Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
And so quickly, I think I could allow you to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Mundalo will also chime in.
Yeah.
Because I really want to understand, because you talked about hate, you talked about jealousy, and I wonder whether this was the only thing. The reason why he actually jumped the ship and started aggressively supporting Mr. Ruto instead of going with Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila, as it were.
Yeah, so it's multifaceted. And I want you to understand that the multifaceted nature of that divide or division occurred in a sequential manner. But it began from what I said, that there was that envy, because exit must start from a base. And the base is, I would like to be like Jagero. If I can't be like Jagero, then I must be Jagero. But see, you'll never be Jagero. It's that simple. So, regarding Gachagua, something happens around politicians, and this is something that us as who have been handlers of these people, we know. When you work around a politician for quite some time, you normally want to mimic their life. And actually, you don't want to mimic, you find yourself mimicking their life. Okay? Because there's nothing that they're doing which you're not doing. You're going with them to the same spaces, you are taking the same food, you're driving in the same cars, just that you don't own the cars sometimes. You're basically in their mindset. I can actually finish for you word for word what some of the bosses I've worked with would say. I would actually tell you how they would think about something, and it will happen in that exact manner. And the same is Mundalo. He would do that for Uhuru Kenyatta. Tell you, Hivi. You remember? No, I was not with you. There was a gentleman, Onyango Lo, just the other day. We were sitting with him at Kevin. And Onyango Lo was saying how he wanted to join President Ruto. And then President Ruto told him, kuna jamaa yangu hapo Kisumu anaitwa, I think I told you that yesterday. Kuna jamaa wangu hapo Kisumu, just for your advantage and maybe the viewers who are not there. Yeah. Kuna jamaa wangu hapo Kisumu anaitwa Mbuta. Ongea na Mbuta. So then Onyango Lo calls Mbuta. Tells him, hey, nimeongea na mzee amesema anakuja on Thursday. Ambaye wacha. Akuji. Mzee akuji. And I'm like, no, nimemwongelesha. Akasema anakuja on Thursday, amesema ni coordinate na wewe ili tumpokee kwa airport. Ambaye wacha bwana, mzee akuji. So I thought like Mbuta was being hakuwa namtaka, dismissive. Then he called the president, then the deputy president. Mbona jamaa anasema ukuji? No, Onyango, I've told you I'm coming actually. I'm coming. Na
Mbuta is the man to talk to.
Onyango akarudi kwa Mbuta. Ai, Mbuta. Mzee nimeongea naye tena. Anasema anaenda Busia then anarudi. So tutampokea from the airport. Okay, so we will be around the airport, then we pick him and come with him. Nimekwambia mara ngapi mzee akuji? Atapita hivi alafu apite tena aende. And Onyango Lo was like, no, but is just being dismissive or something. So days later, the deputy president actually came to Busia and he never met Onyango Lo in Kisumu. And Onyango Lo had organized these people. So
interesting.
Yeah, what am I saying in short? Is that when you're a handler of a president or of some VIP of that character, you always know how they behave. In fact, they can send somebody to you and they send them to you for management.
Oh, I see.
All right? And management is not telling them the truth. Management is handling them. Okay?
But he could have just told Mr. Mundali could have just told Mr. Onyango Lo that I know I'm not coming.
No. So I don't know if you've heard how I've talked about Onyango and Mbuta. And I've mimicked how Onyango talks and Mbuta talks. That should be able to answer you what's going on in there in terms of academics, in terms of exposure. All right. I'm not saying he's a daft man. Yeah, but he's not properly as exposed as Onyango. So, of course, is that kind of a person. So what these people normally do, they know, and the leaders send people to them. In fact, I can say here today that even in deal making, the principals never make deals in person. They normally talk through their PAs. That's why the PA is a very powerful person. And you remember the president has had one PA for a very long time called Farouk Kibet. That guy knows him in and out. That man cannot afford to do mistakes. Because in his life, there's no room for mistakes. In fact, he is a shadow of the president. Now, long story short. So, Rigathi Gachagua now understands the business dealings because he's always sent. Unajua, kuna pesa yangu imekwama hapa na pale, nisaidie ilipwe. And he goes and tells Mzee Uhuru Kenyatta that there's money that is stuck somewhere. You need to, help this guy get paid. He provides some services. Yeah, Hans Panait, and then Uhuru was of course not just an ordinary person. He was now rising in the ranks and could make a few calls and say, pay, right? And Uhuru dismissed Rigathi. So, no. And he chased him out actually of the office angrily, and that was the trigger of Rigathi leaving Uhuru's side, because people would wonder what really made them go separate ways. Uhuru is not that kind of person you come to. If I'm saying a lie, he will confirm. You don't come to him that please help Nani. He will not. He's a prince. He has handlers. He does not do it. Unlike Ruto. Ruto, you can go to him and tell him, help Nani. And he will. Can I tell you? There's a man from Nyakach.
Okay.
Urudi. Unaingia huko on your right if you come from Kisumu. One time we were in Asembo doing Harambee. And we were with the governor then of Kisumu Ranguma. And then there's this gentleman who alitoa 150,000. The governor always alikuwa anatoa 100 maximum. And who is this mwenye anatoa 150? Because ukitoa zaidi ya governor, are you, who are you? Even if who you are. Akamuliza, so who are you? Then the gentleman said, me, I'm just a printer in Eldoret, na mimi nimejengwa na deputy president. I said, oh, is that so? Okay, I can invite you to my home. So we thought we were going to the home of a printer. My brother. We drove to the home of a
printer.
He comes from Nyakach. I don't know his name. We drove to the home of a printer. Tukifika, it was a mansionette. It was a Karen. in Nyakach and 3 V8s. Then I had, because I was always close to the governor, listen to what's going on, because I need to know who is this. So I had him say...
The contractor.
Yeah, the contractor. I had him tell the governor that, mimi, mzee alichukua tu simu, akapigia mtu, akaambia patia huyo kijana kazi. And I was given a printing gig. The deputy president has never met me, but he gave me a printing gig worth 50M. And that is what has built me. And from there, I've built myself. And that is how I am. I was just an ordinary printer in Eldoret. Okay? So those things happen. So Rigathi Gachagua also was trying now to be, not only being the fixer, he was now also trying to transact. And that is what Uhuru rejected. Because Uhuru was not seeing him as a transactional person. He was seeing him as an assistant. And your role ends at being an assistant. You must always know, within the VIP parlance, where does your pay grade allow you to work? The job descriptions which you should not try to work beyond your pay grade, in short. So, they go separate ways. But in that separate ways, Rigathi Gachagua, having been not mentored by anybody meaningful in his life, apart from seeing his brother succeed, wonders, I can also be a prince, because Uhuru is a prince. but that's a mistake he makes. Because if you come from Nyalenda, well, you can try to talk like Odhiambo, but people still know. Nyalenda just sneaks on you when you're talking. Okay? And they put, that's Nyalenda. Okay, now we know. So there's that bit that refuses to leave Rigathi. Because yes, you know the tactics of being a king or a prince, but it is not inherent. You don't have the aptitude to remain. So what happens? He goes to TV. He's the man who can face off Uhuru Kenyatta in Mount Kenya. We need to raise the hate index against the Kenyattas in Mount Kenya. Professor Kindiki is a decent man. And in politics, you don't need decent men. In politics, you need guys who can nimbaya, guys who can nimbaya in the street. Yes, the undercut guys. So Kindiki will not mobilize much. He's a decent man. That will not convert. What converts is a man who can raise... Well, you need a man who can convert for you, who can rally the emotions.
Can you have the camera on?
He's so disappointed. Mundalo is one of those decent men you don't need in politics. Because at what time we tell Mundalo toa hiyo suti tuende chini tupigane.
So I think Mundalo can.
So Rigathi is that kind of Rigathi is that kind of a person who mobilizes. He's a grassroots person. He mobilizes. He does not fear anything because he has lost everything. After he lost his DO job, he lost everything. So the rest, of course. The only thing...
Can I ask a question that's lingering in my mind? Do you think that Ruto is a man that sees the dog to send?
Of course. Can I tell you something about Kalenjin culture of fighting? Do you know, when you see Kalenjins attacking at the border, that decision was not made by the person coming to attack. If you want to end that war, you don't talk to those boys who are fighting, who are coming to attack. No. They are elders who you talk to. In Kibigori, you know Kibigori? Kibigori is just between Chemelil and Nandi.
Yeah.
In 2017, we go there and Raila comes and we do something called Ngadoguok. So that the attacks between Kalenjins and Luos end at the border. Who comes to oversee this? It's not the young boys. It's very old men. And then, in Luo, it is not the old men who make the decision of war. It is the youths. But in Kalenjin, it is not the youths. It is the old men. So Ruto has that culture. In fact, you can remember, there's a very significant and influential group of Kalenjin elders. I'm forgetting their name. Who blesses the person who speaks on behalf of the community. There was a race between Gideon Moi and Ruto to go and get this blessing from these elders. I think the audience will tell us shortly. Okay? Now, these elders are the ones who then determine what happens. And Ruto has now, and they move in age sets, by the way. So like right now, you'll see Ruto and his age set at the top. Chirchir, name it. Murkomen, name it. Okay? Then you'll find the lower cadre of Wakina Aaron Cheriot, Chesang. You find that they're just age sets. So Kalenjins move in age sets. So Ruto knows that he can use the age set below him. That's why I've always told you, in Ruto's government, he always wants to be the oldest person. Yeye ndio mzee. Hata Mudavadi is an irritant, but ni sawa. That's why he knows how to sit around, okay? So anyway, I've nimeenda mbali. So this fellow has the mouth. Ako na mdomo huyu Rigathi. Anaweza kuongea. TV, ana shame. You know, in the shameless go-getter. Hana shame, anaongea, anaambia Uhuru, wewe, familia yako imeiba, state capture, nini. You need such a man who can fire from all cylinders. You know, all hands on deck. Boom, poop, poop, poop. So ni bomb ndani ya Kikuyu land.
Yeah.
And the hate is substantial to the level that Uhuru is actually hated. Uhuru cannot step into Mount Kenya to campaign. He didn't. For the whole term of Azimio campaign, Uhuru never stepped in Mount Kenya. And that one, Rigathi was very effective, but also something that you need to know. As I've said, Machiavelli strictly demands, the Machiavellian policy or principle strictly demands that he who is the king maker must be killed for the king to rule. Now you realize very fast, Machiavelli holds on that principle because of what Rigathi was. And I'm happy Rigathi never read this as much as he's a political science graduate.
Ignored.
Vitu
ya wazungu.
Yeah, vitu ya wazungu, but vitu ya wazungu sai namkula. Yeah? So when he was ignoring, what happens is that after they take power, what does he do? He starts playing a Ruto card. On who? On Ruto. Ruto card on Kenyatta is not, you cannot play it on Ruto because Ruto is the owner of the card. You remember, in the first term, Ruto and Kenyatta had actually gone separate ways. There was actually storm in paradise. Okay? But then they handled it so objectively as men that, you know, emotions tunaweza weka kando. Tuchukue presidency kwanza alafu tutasort the rest baadaye. You remember Ruto saying something like that? Yeah, si ndio tuko na shida na hao majamaa lakini power kwanza. Objectivity. So they go like that. And Ruto knows that mimi siwezi letea huyu jamaa kisirani. Even says when they were with Jirongo in some funeral. Unafikiria mimi in Kakamega. Nikiletea huyu jamaa kisirani, unafikiria ataniwacha, si atanisumbua. Mimi najipanga tu hapo nyuma yake, hapo mbele vitu zinaweza kuwa sawa. So he understands that you don't fight the chief until when the time is right. When does he start to fight? Is when he becomes an excessive irritant, but knowing so well that he has the numbers in parliament. He can't be impeached because he knows that the only legal point is this guy either kills me or impeaches me. There's no other option. And he knows Uhuru cannot kill him because it's going to have big political consequence. Uhuru cannot impeach him. In fact, he dares Uhuru, goes to Karen with his 119 MPs and tells Uhuru, bring it on. And Uhuru is not able. Nancy Gitau, your friend, she's one of the best political strategists I've seen in this country. He's not able to crack this nut called President Ruto card. So Rigathi, getting in, wants to play this card on who? On Ruto. Remember, Ruto comes from a negotiated kind of deal that they were doing 50-50. He was not appointed, but Rigathi is appointed. Then Rigathi forgets that. So he comes to lie. That for me, I'm the one who made him president. You didn't. This guy appointed you to be his deputy. Yeah. So Ruto says, okay, I can see the card is trying to play. Because so Rigathi thinks, nikiletea huyu jamaa kisirani, he can do me nothing because I have Kikuyus behind me. The reality is, he doesn't have them. Because remember, in 2013 or 17, Ruto single-handedly managed the nominations around Mount Kenya as the deputy president. And he installed very young boys. He did away with the old order, I've told you before, in Kalenjin. He did away with Zakayo Cheruiyot, Franklin Bett, you name it. In Kikuyu, Kabogos, he did away with those people and brought in the Ndindis, Karua Watangwas, the people you don't know, nondescripts. But they're all over there with money and they're looking futuristic. And so he brought them to power. Why? He was planning 2022. So Ruto had 10 years to plan 2022. And you, within 2 years, with nobody.
How long does Sifuna have?
Yeah, quite a number of years. So, Rigathi forgets. I'm
just asking.
Rigathi forgets. Rigathi forgets that he is not a Ruto. He doesn't have MPs that he brought to parliament with him. But what does he do? He wants to become a Ruto. He wants to become a Uhuru at the same time.
Under Raila.
and a Raila at the same Ayatollah, in fact. He wants to become an Ayatollah, he wants to become a Raila, he wants to become the Ruto, he wants to become Uhuru Kenyatta. These 4 people in one person is too much because he does not know, remember what I said, he doesn't know how to have a facade. So he comes as himself trying to be all these people. So he tells them peace. Usiponipigia magoti, ikifika 2027, wewe rudi. You don't tell a sitting member of parliament that. You don't. In fact, you seduce them. In any case, you fool them. In politics, you must learn the language of diplomacy. The language of diplomacy is basically lying. Diplomacy is where you can be told, hey, go kill yourself there. It is very beautiful. If you throw yourself from you're going to die so easily, so softly, and you go and do it. That is how diplomatic you need to be in politics. Rigathi lacks it. So this guy are like, oh, we are seeing you. So he exposes his soft underbelly early. And what do? He remains a marked man. Then the president sets him traps. Because the president knows this is a talkative man, he will talk anyway. So, leta huyu jamaa wa Sudan, mwambie yeye wapokee, nini, unajua ataanza collect evidence, yeah? Fanya hii na ile, enda kwa TV, uongee your policy, anakataa. It's evidence. Even in the corporate world, Jagero, once you see people starting to evidence or have evidence of what you're doing by writing you emails, you must rebut very fast. If you don't rebut, it remains as evidence which will be used against you at the disciplinary committee. So Rigathi does not understand that whatever he's being set up for, including and not limited to, being told, wewe enda uongee maneno ya shares. Wewe enda uongee maneno, ikifika maneno ya sufuria, wewe ndio uongee. Piga hao majamaa kabisa. Rigathi was waking up at 5, in fact at 3 in Karen. And the photographer was traumatized. He had to
Is this things Odhiambo saying are fiction? No. Can you give me a Mundalo's picture?
Look,
Mundalo, are these things true?
No, it's actually true. I'm
just a storyteller. That's the challenge.
Yeah, you remember, he used to. Rigathi was arriving in the office earlier than everyone else. All of us woke up to him in the office.
Yeah.
And
what was he doing?
And the photos would have been posted at around 4:35.
Right.
So it's actually true to imagine that the photographer must have been traumatized. but then there's something that Odhiambo says that I think it's good for the benefit of the viewer.
Yeah.
Because most of the people who actually watch us are young people.
Right.
And in passing, Odhiambo talks about what should be your demeanor when you're working for your boss.
Yeah.
And most of the people who are interested in political headache are political animals. So they find themselves in such environments. They must be able to understand that your boss profiles you.
Right.
And so anytime you move away from the profile that your boss has set for you, then you are going to be sacked.
What contextualize? Profiling you means what?
Bosses decide that you are the nice person, you will be assigned nice duties.
Right.
And then there's another one here who is quite a crafty person.
Yeah.
He will be assigned crafty duties.
Yeah.
The day you will ever want to be the other person,
you will be lost.
That will be the end of you. Let me bring it into better context, Jagero. I think one of I've always called him the most revered political animal we have had in Kenya is the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the late Raila Odinga. When you listen to even people speaking about Raila Odinga, you will realize one thing, Jagero. Their stories are never the same.
Yeah.
Their experience is never the same. How Sifuna talks about Raila Odinga is extremely different from how Junet knows Raila Odinga, and extremely different from how Wafula Buke from Bungoma knows Raila Odinga. Because Raila, I think in his mind would know that, and it's different from how Joho knows him. So in his mind, he knows that we have people that we are supposed to walk the journey of good governance, the journey of democracy and the dictates of democracy.
Right.
So those are the Sifunas and whatever and those kind of people. They will always be assigned such democratic roles, people who look like the leaders of the future. Then we have people who are good for revolution, people who are good for the street.
Yeah.
So you'll realize that there are certain people that when Raila Odinga was going to the street, there are people you would suddenly start seeing. You would start seeing the gauchos of this world. You would start seeing some types of people, because these ones are now candidates of revolution, on one revolution. And when we have a handshake, There are again different types of people.
That then also come.
Now the ones who can be able to join a government and become a cabinet secretary and such kind of people. And then we have those ones who their role is come here, go there. They are there not to speak. And that's why when you listen to them, you don't hear more about what they told Raila, you hear more about instructions. Yeah, the chief of staff, the mondos, the what, the tallies. When you listen to them, you hear instruction taking and execution.
Yeah, I'm under family instructions.
Yeah, those ones. So it's very, very important that most of our viewers, because they are political animals and they get themselves in this context, they must be able to know. Right. And when you want your boss to look at you a certain way, then you must profile yourself as so from the beginning as you get in. So that from the onset you are known as such. There is no day your boss is going to send you to pick money if that's not the profile he ever gave you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never.
Don't try to redefine your role unless the boss is the one who asks you to.
Never. If your boss knows that your job is to be a sane PA who carries his bag,
and
carries his phones and
yeah.
is disciplined, and you wear a suit and a tie and say, yes, sir, that is it. You will never be involved in his deal. Not a day, not any single day.
That's right.
Yet there'll be someone in the office who does not look like he's a very organized guy. But now he's the one who will be the proxy of the boss in dealership.
Yep.
He is the one who will have a 10%, 20% cut. When the boss makes $1 million, he makes 100,000.
Can tell you, for example, so there's one of Raila's bodyguards. This one I can say it's declassified anyway. There's a day, one of Raila's bodyguards, he had this trend. It's not really a bodyguard like official. They're these hangabouts. But they worked with Raila for so long.
Hangabouts?
Yeah. That they now identify as bodyguards. His coat looks like there's sand in it. The seams here is quite bulky. Yeah. So we're at Wilson, and there's an Asian gentleman at Wilson. I told you the story, right?
Yeah, you told me the story.
So let me tell you, Mdala. So this Asian is there, and Honorable Odinga needs to board the plane, the chopper to Kisumu, and this fellow comes. Hey, Jacom, talk to this Asian. Jacom, yeah. What is it? Jacom, you know, as the fighters of democracy, I already took his money, 300K. He already gave it to me, and I ate it. He wanted to say hi to you. He has some problem. Me, I cannot solve this problem. You're the one to solve it. And, you know, normally, Honorable Odinga will punch you.
Yes.
If you do such a silly thing, especially if you're the decent person in his team,
yes.
He'll punch you.
Yes.
In fact, his hand was quite quick if you did silly stuff. And in this case, I was shocked. Honorable Odinga didn't punch this fellow. And this fellow was talking at the top of his voice. Like, talk to this Asian. You just come and say hi. Yeah, and then that is it. At least he will know that at least I am a truthful man. So next time when I go for more money, he will give me. This is the democracy we eat. You've not employed me. Do you know?
Tell me, Raila did not go there.
What do you mean? Now, he went. Raila went. Then he went and said hi to the gentleman. What's your name? Oh, okay. Raila had the face to monkey because these are his staff. Okay? And he knows that this guy, yes, I don't pay him nothing, but he has a role that he plays for me. Yes. These are the guys, Raila kikuja mali, Raila anafanya tu. And it remains like that. Or ukisikia where they know what it means.
What does where mean?
So this, okay, when you walk around Odinga, one thing you'd know is that his codes meant different things.
Yeah.
When you ever visited him and he did this, he stood up and hey. All of us who were there, we knew you're not welcome. But when he sat and said hi to you seated, and he welcomed you, and ground nuts will be served and black tea, he honors you. Because after you leave, he would say, Biruka, so, in the context of where, when Raila did not want somebody, and the youths, you know, he had youths, apart from the bodyguards, the official one, they would punch you a bit. They would punch you a bit, a good one. If he didn't want you, You remember Jalango trying to go to Manzoni?
Manzoni.
And those guys said, no, you're not getting in. And Honorable Dinga could not do nothing meaningful. He only had to say, no, okay. But wakisikia weye means punch. But weye actually means leave him. It was a call. Then in the evening, when he sits with the boys, very good. I love the guy.
Anyway, this interview today has gone in a very strange manner. The strangest interview we have ever had, because we are supposed to we are yet to take one thing. We are yet to take one thing, and the last question is: how does Uhuru Kenyatta, coming back to Mundalo now, how does Uhuru Kenyatta, because Kioni has been seen with His Excellency, the former Deputy President, Mr. Gachagua. He's going there, coming, how do they work together? Because I think there is something that Uhuru wants in the 2027 election. I think there is something that Gachagua wants. And there is a lot of, play, Mickey Mouse going on. And can you put it in perspective? What is going on?
I think former President Uhuru Kenyatta has really come out and put his hand in the politics of 2027. Which I think is unlike any other former president. I stand to be corrected, because since independence, I don't think we have had such a kind of scenario. And we've seen President Uhuru Kenyatta want to reorganize the Azimio brigade. He has now installed Kalonzo Musyoka as party leader. So truthfully, he wants to actually play a role in 2027. And I think one of the biggest bargaining chips of Uhuru Kenyatta, away from his influence and his money, would be Mount Kenya. Because when you are getting into the politics of Kenya, you come with something. What are you carrying as you come to the table? To the table of negotiation, you must be having something. The politics of Kenya, all political leaders, they carry their ethnic communities to bring to the table as now the source of negotiation. So what would be the bread that Uhuru wants to go to the table with? Regardless of whichever side he wants to take, whether he wants to support the re-election of President Ruto or any other person, he would need Mount Kenya. Now, the juxtapose for him here is that the political reality is that Mount Kenya is in the hands of someone else. Now, this person who has the grip of Mount Kenya today is Rigathi Gachagua.
Right.
But Uhuru Kenyatta knows that he is politically senior to Rigathi Gachagua. And to the mountain, he is actually the true king. But for him to actually reign supreme on this kingdom, he must be able to capture the person who is gallivanting around as the owner. Because the moment they come together, then subconsciously, I think Rigathi might not be aware of that, but subconsciously the mountain would have gone to Uhuru. Because when you join hands with a person who is more superior to you, then power is always by dominance. So by the concept of power being by dominance, when Rigathi comes together with Uhuru, the domineering figure there becomes Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, indirectly, he then owns the mountain. So the job that Uhuru cannot do for himself, like walk around the mountain, shout here and there, talk about some of these unpalatable things to heighten the hate index so that you are able to galvanize these people, that can be done by Gachagua, who has actually done it quite well. So it's just about now him going and reclaiming it. Remember, it is not a very difficult job for him, also remembering that Rigathi was his PA. So when Rigathi is in the face of Uhuru, there is an inferiority that strikes him. And now, because there will always be an inferiority that strikes him when he is in the presence of Uhuru, that is how Uhuru will then take dominance of the mountain. So I tend to think that is the script that that President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to play, which I think might be successful but also very dangerous. Putting in mind that Rigathi is not necessarily, is quite a chaotic person. He's not a person you put in a box and you are sure that you've sealed it and you have controlled it. Because you don't know from which direction
it's coming from.
He's going to kick the box from again.
Yeah.
So I think it is quite a dangerous adventure in trying it. And you have kept seeing, regarding the looks, there is, even if Odhiambo says there are some political science lessons he skipped, but I think the ones he attended is called an A in all of them.
I agree.
It's called what?
An A. The ones he attended.
Yes.
A what?
An A in the few that he attended. Because one of the things the guy knows is that he's also being very careful.
Yeah.
Even as he deals with this Uhuru. He knows that the only thing he needed from Uhuru Kenyatta is that he needed to look like he has apologized.
And that was it.
So that he then can take control of the mountain, because there was this thing that was going to continue being on his face, that every time he comes to the mountain, people will tell him, but you insulted
Our king.
our king. They will always remind him, but you see, you put us in this mess by disrespecting the king. So for as long as he was done with portraying himself as a person who has asked for some forgiveness of such, I doubt Rigathi really needs to work with Uhuru. He does not really want to work with Uhuru, but he wants to keep looking like he is willing to work with Uhuru. And that's why when you look keenly in the politics, just yesterday, Jagero, the Jubilee Party had a meeting in Nyeri. And I think one of the first meetings that Jubilee had, where it went as Jubilee Party alone, where it was not as a question of a united opposition, it was purely Jubilee Party branded in red, and all the officials of the Jubilee Party and the aspirants of Jubilee Party, and opening a Jubilee office in Nyeri, and it was quite a successful meeting. Ngunjiri Wambugu was, I think, the front runner in organizing that meeting, and he did quite a good job. I think it was the first Jubilee meeting that was well mobilized, the first Jubilee meeting where they had semblance of a seriousness of a meeting. But what happens immediately after? Immediately after the Jubilee Party has done that in Nyeri, before even the cows can go home, the following day, in less than 24 hours, Rigathi is in Nyeri today. In the pretext that he has gone for the Nico Kadi campaign, and he has mobilized people and all that. If you are a good student of political science, you'll be able to know that he's trying to cancel the meeting that was done the previous day.
The same way he was trying to cancel that of
Ruto. Exactly. So he is, and when he's trying to cancel the meeting that Jubilee did, it simply means he's going head to head with Uhuru Kenyatta. So he's trying to say, yes, I want us to be together, but maybe just as brothers and sisters. I don't necessarily want us to fully embrace each other and work together. This region is mine, and I am the one who is the dominant factor here. That's why I'm saying he is not the kind of person that you can put under lock and key and be sure that you have actually control, because you don't know which side he'll kick the box from. So I tend to think, yes, they would want maybe to imagine that they have a common interest in terms of probably both of us want another set of government. But I can be able to assure you that whereas their interests might look like they are the same, they are not actually the same. Because I tend to think Rigathi might be interested in the politics of 2027, but I think Uhuru is interested in the politics of 2032.
Why is he sending Kioni over?
Because Kioni has been able to posture himself as the chief spokesperson of President Uhuru Kenyatta. You were able to see that during one of the Jubilee meetings, Uhuru actually instructed Kioni to stop going head-on with Gachagua. So it was going to be very convenient for him to be the one to be sent to try and hold a truce of some sort. But one thing I foresee is that, I don't know, part of me thinks they will not be able to finish this journey up to even 2027 because of the chaotic nature. Because remember, Rigiji is quite chaotic. He is not the kind of person you are going to lock in a box. And there's another one I can assure you, because he was my boss, I know him. Honorable Kioni is not the kind of person you will also lock in a box. You remember during the NADCO sittings? When Raila used to convene the meetings and they would sit down and agree on something, all of them. But when Honorable Jeremiah Kioni is upset with what they have agreed upon, he would wake up from Spice FM and say everything that he thinks is wrong about it, so that at the end of the day he has to be called again to be contained. Then when
he enjoys it.
And that is how he had to be put and become part of the NADCO team. Like they had to force a position of the secretariat or something so that he is again part of it. So I do not see how you are able to really put these two people and assume that you are going to have a direction. I doubt, because there will always be competition of dominance. And so I think we will not even get to 2027. That camel's back will have broken.
Odhiambo, what do you think?
you know, Rigathi Gachagua does not know how to be a junior. And for you to be a good general, you must be a very good soldier. Okay? In fact, you must be a very good private. Then you move up the ranks. That's what I was saying. There's no way you can take the elevator to the top floor. Yeah. You must go through the staircase. And if you go through the elevator, you must come back down very fast to the same elevator and then take the staircase. He will learn very shortly that it's going to take some time for him to reach where the others are. There's no way he can just become unless somebody made him to be there. And I look at, as you're saying, right, that there's that indifference between Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua for this reason. Kenyatta is, as I've said, is a royalty. Rigathi is a servant in that context. That will never change. Yeah. There are people who are loyal to your identity that you was 10 years ago, Jagero. The Jagero who was a drama teacher at All Saints Cathedral, or the Jagero who was living in a Mabati house.
Why don't you use another example? What?
But you are a drama teacher at All Saints Cathedral.
So why does he want another example?
Why do you want another? It's the most convenient one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So the people who are also loyal to the Jagero who used to walk for very many kilometers in town like a duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you become the Jagero that is now having a very nice tie, they still don't believe it. Yeah. And that happens in politics, that you rarely outgrow your master until when your master sees the sense of making you something else, or until when that master dies or leaves the stage. Yeah. Okay? And that discipline or that war is still there, because there are so many things that Rigathi did against Kenyatta's, even recently, which Kenyatta's are not yet to forgive him, including, are not limited to, attacking the person of Mama Ngina Kenyatta, attacking the farm of the Kenyatta's and stealing the merino sheeps, very beautiful sheep there, and including, are not limited to, him even withdrawing security from particular estates of the Kenyatta's when he was chairing in the full glare of the camera at 5 a.m., bro.
What was he chairing?
Security meeting. And you could see how I wish I knew earlier. I would have told the guy to get them. Because if you look at his page, unless he's moved them, unless he moved them from his page, you'd see Rigathi sitting in the IG there, and the Nairobi police boss, who I think was said or somebody, and the rest are there. And you'd see the discomfort in these people, but you see Rigathi sitting so pretty and think that he's in charge. But he's not in charge. Yeah. This guy's, it's a clean setup. When you're doing a security meeting where you're going to beat Honorable Odinga and these people in the street, you don't sit where you're being taken photos. That's like a conclave. You hide. Because you're going against the oracle of politics.
He did not hide.
He didn't hide. He was very abrasive.
He took photos.
He took photos. and then he put those photos on social media.
Oh my God.
and those guys just like, okay. So the day, and you remember, the time Raila said, weka mtego, si ndio? Atashangaa mtego itamnasa yeye. And when Raila went in, I would want to imagine the look on Rigathi's face when he learned through his, and he used to say, mimi niko na watu hapo ndani ya State House, nimeweka mtego. Raila akitembea tu hapo kidogo hivi, hao watu wakitembea hapo kidogo Azimio, naambiwa Vani, my friend, this you mean you're outsmarting even the intelligence that you have your eyes in State House. So I don't see them holding, because Kenyatta is still loyal to the idea that Rigathi is a servant. And Rigathi is not doing anything to convince Kenyatta that is actually deserving to be on the table.
I don't like the way you guys are describing these issues.
But it's just the reality how it is, unfortunately.
It sounds so bad.
Finally, I look at it this way, that Rigathi is going to be contained so much within the Mount Kenya Square. And as I told the other day, a few billions are about to be unleashed into the opposition ranks. And you know, Jagero, a billion is not a small amount of money. And there's so many billions that are around government. This guy knows. And those billions are going to make sure that Rigathi is contained properly by bringing up because there's no zoning in Mount Kenya, remember, sindio? Nyanza kutakuwa na zoning, coast kunaweza kuwa na zoning, but Mount Kenya kuna zoning. So it's going to be up for grabs. So it's going to popcorn effect, okay? Popcorn effect. Pap, pap, pap. Unazima hii hapa, ile pali, poop. Kibia huko.
These are people running
with
big money.
People with big money. So unasikia Madira imewekwa 200 million kuchukua hiyo kiti. And when the government decides to invest, they do invest a lot of money. Remember, ordinarily, you need 40 million on the highest to win MP positions. But in rural areas. But now a government has brought in, or a regime has brought in 200 million. That is 4 times. You will be outspent, outmaneuvered, outwitted. In fact, you'll be outed completely.
You'll be run out of town.
Run out of town. So you, as a Rigathi, you know you need to sponsor your candidates as well.
Yeah.
But you don't have the money. But the president has the money because he has some regime priorities or how do you call them? Privileges, which are confidential. And so he says, in central Kenya, how many MPs do we have? Let's say 40, okay? He says, I want to dedicate 2 billion Mount Kenya, especially huku kwa Rigathi, because huku kwa nani nitampea tu yake tu ya sawa huku kwa Kindiki. Hapa kwa Rigathi, I want to show him dust. So Rigathi doesn't have time to come and campaign up here. So he has to struggle for identity with who? With Kenyatta. And Kenyatta, with the business empire he has, he cannot afford to be out of government. That is why Kenyatta is very cautious not to sit with Rigathi. He can't deal with him directly because this is somebody who is like a skunk. And you know, skunk is well known for the publicity it gives itself.
Yeah, well, you can't use the word skunk.
No, it. Okay, I've left. Boop, mic drop. Thank you so much.
No. Go ahead.
Anyway, so
we just wanted to withdraw the word skunk.
I've withdrawn it and apologized to him. But a skunk is well known for the publicity it gives itself.
You're making it worse, bro.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, it's done. Okay, so anyway, Rigathi is not going to be able to match the energy that is needed because he's going to be kept so busy. And the people have seen him. And you remember, you said he pays 30 million shillings of a loan per month.
I did not say that one.
You've heard him talk about that, right?
No.
Nani, Frank, so umesikia akisema all the time here that Rigathi is struggling with a 30 million shilling loan per month. Yeah, you're the one who said it, not me. and I just want to echo what Mwalimu was saying.
Yeah.
I just want to echo what Mwalimu was saying that he's struggling with some money right now in terms of payment. Plus, he doesn't have the pipeline of cash.
Yeah.
Tap ilifungwa.
Yeah.
So it's been a dry spell for quite some time.
Yeah, but if you're a politician in the stature of Mr. Rigathi Gachagua and struggling with 30 million, what does that tell you in the grand scheme of things?
That tells you that you're going to be a king and you're going to need people to pay homage. You get my point? People need to pay homage. But how do they pay homage to you if they're not assured of their tickets? Are we together? People will pay homage where they're assured of the ticket. They say, Jagger is the most important vote I need, so let me pay homage to him. Let me give him 20M. I'm assured I'll get my ticket. So, Jagero, mimi nimekuja na 20 ya mafuta ya ndege. Kimbie uendeleze demokrasia. Lakini hapa chini uniwachie mimi nitaendeleza yako. Uensure ticket ni yangu. Okay? But now, I'm not even assured of that seat because the regime has sponsored 2 candidates who are big money. Choppers, hakuna choppers huko Wilson, zimeisha. Watu wamezipaka kwa compound. Wana fly nayo hapa kwa area. So Rigathi doesn't have, is of no consequence to the MPs. He's of no consequence to the governors. That's why he's trying to shout at the top of his voice to scare people. But people can see that this guy is just empty. No. Bye.
Your last one, my friend, because this one is the longest podcast we've ever done. How long it is? 2 hours or something. Your last words, brother, and then we can read the comments. You can read there are so many. We have more than 1,000 comments today. They're very, very many.
Yeah, I think my last words would just be to tell our viewers that at the end of the day, politics is always a game where if you're not careful, the biggest beneficiary will always be the politicians. So the people must learn how to play the politics as well. If the people don't learn how to play the politics, their interests will never be on the table. Every time, the table will always have the interests of the politicians.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you love your politician with the highest emotions, just know that you are serving their interest more than you are serving yours. You will start serving yours as a person when you start reasoning objectively and meeting things for what they are. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, people of the internet. This is Mundalo related to Mr. Oguta? Musongo is asking. All right. Annie is saying Rigathi Gachagua should not work with Uhuru at all. Babu Odera is saying, anyway, nani hapa hayuko kadi. The kadi thing, I don't know whether it was started by Gachagua. I'm not sure who started it. You know?
Alan.
Alan.
Yeah, you need to get Alan, by the way. He's a good boy.
Is Alan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alan. I think he's a student somewhere.
All right. Thank you very much. These ones are many today. We are not able to read all of them, and time is well spent. I think the people of the internet will, tomorrow is another day. Sure. People of the internet, it was really, really nice having you guys. If you are here and you've never subscribed to Political Elite, please do subscribe. Hit on that notification bell so that when we have Mundalo on the Ambo, this has been smaffed properly today. Pieced together, broken down, and I think everybody now understands Gachagua, you understand Uhuru Kenyatta, you understand the mountain, what is going to happen in the run-up to 2027 election. So thank you very much. We are on socials. Please follow us everywhere you get your social media dose. Until another episode, bye for now. HustlesAfrica.com, a guide to high-paying online jobs. At HustlesAfrica.com, you'll discover the jobs people are doing from home, the platforms where opportunities are found, the skills that open doors, and the practical steps to begin earning. Go to HustlesAfrica.com today.